What's up, guys? It is that time after scouring all of the different streaming services and consuming upwards of 4 episodes of every single show of the Winter 22 anime season. It's time for me to jump in here and give you my top 5 best anime of Winter 2022 so far. These are shows that can eventually get bad. I'm not going to doubt that. And I'm not really going to get into shows that are returning because we already know they're good. I'll get into those later, but we already know they're good. This is going to be 5 shows that are new coming into the winter season that I think you should check out or at least give a shot. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. This is my top 5 shows so far of the season. Starting things off, we have In the Land of Liddell. Now, this is a series that I didn't really have expectations for. It's a series about a girl who is on life support, and on life support, she actually played this VR MMO game. Think like Mother's Rosario if you ever watched Sword Art Online. But at some point, the power goes out, and she finds herself seemingly transported into the world that she played in. It's assumed that she's dead at this point, but the weird thing is that in this video game that she's kind of now trapped in, it's hundreds of years into the future. And she's kind of trying to gather, okay, is there other players here? Am I alone here? Things have obviously changed. What's going on? But what I like so much about this show is despite the fact that the first episode was kind of a slog for me, I'm like, it's gonna be probably one of those let's have fun in another world type stories, not really taking things seriously. But at some point, there's a realization of the main character realizing that I am alone here. But at the same time, she had this kind of adopted system that she played when she was playing the game before, where she adopted these children. And what was really cool is that you kind of find that she's supplemented her life and supplemented the people around her with the children that she adopted, these NPCs that she adopted in the game. They're now, again, technically her children. So she has something. She has a goal. She has something that she can cherish in this new world. And obviously with that comes the idea that she's starting to struggle with the idea that these aren't just NPCs around her, and that people that their lives are being lost kind of is a struggle for her. This game is now becoming her reality. And I really like how they're doing that so far. But not only that, but additionally the idea that it's a very fun show. It's very fun. These character interactions and everything are a lot of fun. Seeing the first reaction of this dwarf child that she has yelling out that she's mom and she just collapses. It's really fun. And I really do like these characters so far and I cannot wait for more of it. It's such a surprise that every week I am just super excited to just throw on the next episode of the show. Moving on to my number 4, I have Sabikui Bisco. Now this is a show that is so much fun. Every single week, tuning in on this show has been a blast for me. It feels like the next big grand adventure show. Hopefully it can turn into something like a shonen epic. I don't know at this point, but it's odd that this studio is not very well known, and it's a studio that is pouring a lot of effort into the show. The style, the theme, the character designs, the backgrounds, everything is so well done. I felt so immersed in that first episode coming into it, kind of realizing just by seeing what the people of this world are dealing with. It's essentially a world where this big catastrophe happens and this dust kind of takes over the land. Everything turns into like a desert wasteland, and everything and everybody is being infected by this rust infection that will pretty much turn you into rust. And the main character is this guy that goes around and basically shoots arrows and creates these gigantic mushrooms. And everybody fears the mushrooms give the rust disease, but in actuality, it filters it, feeds off of it. And so you have this issue where everybody's kind of has their mindset that this is a bad thing, but you have these 2 adventurers that are going to go out into the world to spread these mushrooms, which are a good thing. And the world is so fascinating. Like I said, there's so many weird things in here. Giant crabs, hippos with cannons on their backs, slugs that are planes. It's just a weird world, and I eat up every bit of it. And like I said, a really good style to really introduce it with. And the action scenes and everything so far have been a lot of fun. I cannot wait for more. Sabikui Bisco is turning out to be a phenomenal show of this season. For my number 3, I have Slow Loop. Now, this show is such a treasure for me. And now there's 2 sides of this for me. And this is something that I kind of struggled with quite a bit when talking to people about Slow Loop. Well, yes, it's cute girls doing cute things. It's these 2 girls that you come to find out they're actually sisters because their parents who have lost their loved ones are getting married. So these 2 sisters basically come together. And the big hanging point is one of these girls, her late father taught her how to fish. And so this other girl is very interested in that fishing. And so they go out a lot and they fish a lot. It's really cute, very fun. But there's an underlying story here. Obviously, you have one of these girls lost her father who taught her fishing, and she loved a lot. On the other side, you have the other sister who lost her mother and her little brother to a car accident. So you see 2 people who've lost a significant part of their life coming together and finding joy together. So yes, while it's a lot of fun in the idea that yes, they go out, they're cute, they have fun, a lot of shenanigans happens, it often kind of comes back to this idea of two people who are kind of broken, who didn't have a normal childhood because of the tragedies that surrounded them. But there's always that sense of finding meaning and bonds and holding each other up in the middle. So while I love this show for the cutesy nature, I love all that little heartwarming moments of the characters, there's also a bit of element there of that loss. And for somebody like myself who has lost somebody here recently, it really does hurt. You do feel for the characters. So it's like one of those elements where I'm smiling so much, I'm getting all into these characters, but at the same time I'm crying because I feel their pain, but at the same time I feel heartwarmed because they come together. So there is a sense of sadness there, but there's also a sense of these two coming together and warming each other up. A sense of connection and bonds through tragedy that I really do love. And I love every single minute of this series, and I cannot wait for each episode. But yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. It is fantastic. Moving on to my number 2, it's Akabe's Sailor Uniform. Yes, this show is so good. And it's so funny because I was expecting myself to enjoy this show because it's by the artist who did the art for Super Cub, and I obviously would not shut up about Super Cub. But obviously I didn't expect the writing of Super Cub because again, it's just the artist. But surprisingly enough, I found so much more in Akabe's Sailor Uniform. I find this writer to be so good at writing slice of life, so good at wholesome writing. And again, I might be looking too much into it, but I feel like this writer's really good at kind of subtly telling you about the breaks and cracks in people, the issues that people are facing that are almost subtly told. I described it in my recent video that I made for this series about how it's almost as if the characters will pause on something or they'll note something, and then you realize you can kind of tell a story based on that. But the writer doesn't seem like they want to get into it. Now, I don't know if they'll get into a lot of these stories with the characters later on, or if it's just kind of subtly telling you, there's an issue here, there's a crack in this character, but I'm not going to focus on it because what's important is right here. And I really love that. Again, I might be looking into it too much, but I find this writer so good at subtle storytelling and never getting stuck in the weeds. Additionally, with that, Akabe she's just a ray of sunshine. I love her so much. Every week, she makes me smile so much. And it's funny because this writer's so good at embarrassing moments that just make you smile. Like, here again in the recent episode, having her just randomly burp and she's just super embarrassed by it, and it just turns into this really fantastic moment. I cannot wait every week for Akabe's Sailor Uniform. It is, again, it's wholesome incarnate, and I just smile and laugh and go with it every single episode, and I love it to death. Yes, the art style is a little bit different, but I found myself kind of gravitating to it very quickly. And Cloverworks is doing a phenomenal job of animating it. It just looks so gorgeous. Now moving on to my number 1. Honestly, Akabe is probably number 1, but for some reason, right now, I just feel like putting this one up my number 1. And it's probably easy to guess because everybody's like, well, I haven't seen it in the list yet, so it's obviously going to be in the list now. Yes, my DressUp Darling. Now, honestly, I didn't think I was going to like this show as much as I did. I figured it was going to be one of those, okay, let's just check this out. Here's the waifu show of the season. Let's just go in here and check out the waifu. But there's so much more in here than I had ever anticipated. The characters have so much going for them. The drama is so much more impactful than I thought it would be. Especially this recent episode, really getting into Gojo, this character who's essentially into making Hina dolls, and he basically, helps this girl make a dress for cosplay. But Gojo himself has so much going for him. He's not just the dither or main character that you're like, yeah, this guy is the geek that gets the girl. No, he's got so much going for him. He has struggles, he has fears, and he has driving force to push himself forward. And yes, there's this hot girl that's trying to get him to make a cosplay, but she's an absolute goofball. And there's so much more to her than just being a dressed up doll. She cares for people. She's not a bad person, and she's good-hearted. Yes, she's a little bit forward, and she doesn't really have a lot of the usual personal boundaries that most people have, but she's a fun person to be around. And she has her own flaws they're getting into, and I love her as a character. There's so much here about people not accepting what you love, and finding comfort in somebody who will actually accept you for what you really enjoy. The fears and doubts that we have about our future and what we're going through, all these things are already being hit on And we've only had a handful of episodes. I can't wait to see where this show takes these two characters because already I've just fallen in love with them. And I want them to be happy. I want Gojo to succeed, and I want her to get what she wants. It's such a fun show, and yes, it's very well animated. Cloverworks, again, I've got 2 shows in this particular list, is just going out of their way to make this waifu the best waifu of the entire year already, but it's just a lot of fun. It looks great, and there's so much more to the characters and the comedy within it than I had ever anticipated. As an honorable mention, I will say The Orbital Children, but that's technically like a full dump onto Netflix show, but I really did enjoy it, and I definitely suggest people checking it out. It's basically kids in space, and the space hotel messes up, and they have to figure out how to survive. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's by the creator of Den-O Coil. I should have a review up by now. And yes, the returning shows are still phenomenal. I absolutely love TZ Master Takagi-san. We have a 3rd season of that, and I'm loving it to death. And what I like so much about this particular season is it does seem like they're trying to at least pick up the pace on Nishikata, at least finally realizing that he kind of likes Takagi. And I really love that. I'm just like, we're finally getting what we've been kind of grabbing for the last 2 seasons. The case study of Vanitas is still turning out to be phenomenal. I love this show so much. The characters are so good. And what we're getting into with Chloe and everything going on behind that, the cursed beings and the world formula, everything's just starting to get really crazy. Like, we just started this season, and it feels like it's just, we're in trajectory. We're just going. And I'm like, I love this show so much. Princess Connect Redive Season 2, I'm still loving these kids. They're so much fun. The comedy is spot on. The 3rd episode was a little bit of a shrug, but the first 2 episodes was already getting me. I love this show. It just looks so good. They just dumped so much budget into the show. It's got some of the greatest animation that you'll see in this season. Ranking of Kings, of course, is, oh my gosh, Ranking of Kings every week. My treasure is Ranking of Kings. The show is so good. It is easily probably going to turn out to be my favorite show of the year, but we'll see. But yeah, Boji will serve you forever. Attack on Titan, I'm not so big on right now because mainly I've already read the manga, so we'll see how it adapts it. Hopefully they'll do a better job of writing out the story. And yes, of course, Demon Slayer. It took a while. Demon Slayer took a while. The Entertainment District arc really did take probably a good 6 episodes before I was like, whoa, okay, now we're finally getting into something. I've had a blast over the last 3 episodes. It really did ramp up. I cannot wait to see how this concludes. And we don't really have many episodes left, so hopefully it concludes really well. But it's still great. And Ufotable still does a phenomenal job on animation. It felt like half this season, at least what came out so far, was a little bit of a downer. It wasn't really there for me. But yes, that's my top favorite shows of winter 2022. Hope you guys enjoyed this list. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what your favorite of this season is so far. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon or through our tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.